Hey, what's up guys? Nokia's newest mid-ranger brings stock Android out of the box, an HDR-capable screen, and a slightly confusing naming scheme. I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is our Nokia 7.1 review. Don't confuse the Nokia 7.1 for the Nokia 7 Plus, which came out a few months ago. This is a slightly newer model. One of the first things you notice is its style. Just like its predecessors, it goes for a straight-edged look instead of a curvy one. The edges of the 6000 series aluminum frame are beveled rather than sharp though. They look pretty snazzy with their chrome highlights, which also accent the power and volume keys as well as the rear cameras. The back of the phone is a flat glass panel, unlike the metal build we've seen on some recent Nokias. It will wobble when sitting on the table thanks to the camera bump. The phone feels pretty slim in the hand. It's not uncomfortable, but definitely a bit slippery, so be careful around the pool. This phone doesn't have water resistance. On the front is a 5.84-inch 19:9 IPS LCD, and this screen is one of the more interesting things about the Nokia 7.1. The new feature is that the 1080p display is HDR10 compliant. It's one of the cheaper options available if you're looking to watch HDR content on your phone. They were able to achieve HDR compliance on an LCD by using dynamic contrast. You have the option to enhance your SDR content to get HDR-like quality, and there is a noticeable difference in the highlights and shadows. It's small, but it's there. Unlike the Nokia 7 Plus, this phone has a notch cutout, similar to the Nokia 6.1. The result is a slimming of that top bezel and a more edge-to-edge experience. But when watching content or playing a game, that whole part of the screen will be left black. No full screen apps here. We measured up to 600 nits max brightness in auto mode in bright conditions, but it did only average in our sunlight legibility test. It's kind of usable in the sun, but it's not really a comfortable experience. There is a feature called Ambient display, sort of like an always-on display, but it only wakes up when you lift the phone or a new notification comes in. There is no notification LED though. I wonder why you'd lift your phone to check the ambient display if you could just unlock with the same motion using Face Unlock. It seems to work pretty well, but it does require a swipe motion after it recognizes you. It's also not as secure as the rear-mounted fingerprint scanner. The scanner is quick, accurate, and always ready to wake up the phone. For audio, there's a single bottom-firing speaker by the USB-C port. It's no stereo setup, but it gets quite loud and sounds decent. Plugging in headphones is simple thanks to the 3.5mm jack up at the top. Sound is okay, but loudness is below average. I am disappointed that there is no FM radio option either. But since storage is expandable via the hybrid slot, you can afford to keep a decent media library directly on the device. Inside the Nokia 7.1 is Qualcomm's mid-range Snapdragon 636 chipset and either 3 or 4 gigs of RAM. It doesn't top the benchmark charts, but has pretty good performance for its class. That said, don't expect anything blazing fast here. The battery life of the 7.1 is decent. It's powered by a 3060 mAh battery, and in our proprietary tests, it earned an endurance rating of 80 hours. Kind of an average score, but far from disappointing. The 7.1 also supports 18-watt fast charging, and the supplied charger fills about 45% of the depleted battery in 30 minutes. There's no wireless charging though. One of the best features about Nokia phones these days is that they're all a part of Android One. The 7.1 runs on vanilla Android Oreo 8.1 and will receive on-time updates for the next couple of years, starting with a switch to Android Pie in November. You get the standard Android 8 home screen with a pull-up app drawer. Everything feels simple and fluid. The quick toggles and notification shade change color depending on the wallpaper you choose, white for lighter ones and black for darker ones. One interesting feature is that the navigation bar and area around the notch turn red when you're low on battery. As for multimedia, it's all in the hands of Google's App Suite. Photos is in charge of your gallery and video playback, while Google Play Music is the audio player. The Nokia 7.1's dual camera setup has a 12-megapixel primary cam with an f1.8 Zeiss branded lens and dual pixel autofocus. The secondary 5-megapixel snapper is just for depth sensing to provide better bokeh. The camera app on the Nokia 7.1 is practically the only custom app, and it's been improved since the previous Nokia phones. You can swipe to switch between different shooting modes, and the selfie camera switch is easier to reach. When shooting in daylight, we found that leaving on the multi-stacking Auto HDR gave us the best results. It works well and boosts the dynamic range and contrast, at the expense of some sharpness and fine details. But the level of detail is still good. the exposure is even, and colors are vibrant. Opting out of the auto HDR means that the photos are captured and saved a bit faster, and while they lack the dynamic range of the HDR ones, they have more and sharper intricate details. It's not a major improvement though. The Nokia 7.1 lacks OIS, and the bright aperture is all it has going for it in the dark. Lowlight photos are nothing impressive, even a bit below average. They come out soft and blurry, while the aggressive noise reduction smears a lot of the fine detail, and auto HDR doesn't have any effect here. The portrait mode, on the other hand, is pretty impressive, especially for a mid-range device. The processing algorithms were made in collaboration with Zeiss, and subject separation is great, even with messy hair. The depth mapping is well done too, with gradual blurring of different objects based on distance. The selfie camera is 8 megapixels with an f2.0 lens. There's no autofocus, but the focus plane is a reasonable distance away from the phone, so it works out okay. Selfies come out with lifelike skin tones and an overall pleasing color rendition, though the level of resolved detail isn't impressive. And here's one with the selfie portrait mode switched on. Not too bad. There's 4K video recording available on the Nokia 7.1 at 30 FPS. It's mostly sharp, except for in areas which contain a lot of fine detail. Colors are true to life, contrast is excellent, and there isn't a lot of noise. The dynamic range is above average too. The 1080p clips are similar in quality, though they hold up a bit better against the competition. The field of view is narrower here though due to the always-on electronic stabilization. One other thing to mention is that recorded audio sounds great on this phone, thanks to Nokia's Ozo technology.
Hey, what's up, guy?
So that's the Nokia 7.1. Overall, it's one of the better Android One smartphones out there. It's got a great HDR display, decent performance, and a nice Zeiss branded camera, especially if you like portrait mode. But although the price isn't too bad at around 350 euros, it's not the best bang for your buck you can find. There are phones in this price range, like the Pocophone F1, that are bringing much more powerful chipsets than the Snapdragon 636. That said, it's still a pretty nice package for a mid-range phone. If blazing fast performance isn't your priority, then the 7.1 is worth looking into. Thanks for watching, hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And you're always welcome to stop by our website, gsmarena.com, for the latest news, reviews, and test findings. See ya!